What's up everyone, this is Wasim from the Tech Boys and I have a battle between the Apple iPhone 5 and the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. So the iPhone 5 is available now through AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint in 16GB, 32 and 64 gig, priced at $199, $299, and $399 with a 2-year agreement. You can pick up the Galaxy Nexus on contract with Verizon and Sprint, or the unlocked GSM model through the Google Play Store for $350 that is no contract. As for the specifications, the iPhone 5 has a 4-inch Retina display with a resolution of 640 by 1136, 1 gig of RAM. It has an A6 dual-core chip clocked at 1.3 GHz. The Galaxy Nexus has a 4.65-inch HD Super AMOLED display with a resolution of 720 by 1280 pixels. It has a 1.2 GHz dual-core TI OMAP chip, 1 gig of RAM, and only 16 GB built in. If you do go with the Verizon and Sprint version, those have 32 gigs built in. On the front of the devices, they both have front-facing cameras. The iPhone is a 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera, and the Galaxy Nexus is a 1.3 megapixel. Taking a hardware tour with the iPhone 5, it's built out of an aluminum construction. So here we can see the back is aluminum. This is in black and slate. There's also white and aluminum. It's a very thin phone at 7.6 millimeters thin. It's one of the thinnest smartphones you can purchase. Overall, a very amazing design by Apple. It feels great in the hand. They have the new lightning connector at the bottom, as well as your headphone jack, the nano SIM tray, and the volume up and down, and the mute switch, as well as the power button right at the top. Now it feels very light in the hand. The Galaxy Nexus is built by Samsung, partnered with Google. It's made out of a plastic construction. It's pretty thin. It's at 8.94 millimeters thin, so not as thin as the iPhone 5, but for a 2011 phone, it does pretty well. It has a nice, beautiful AMOLED display. On the back, there is a 5 megapixel camera. You can see the Google and Samsung branding. And our speaker is right at the bottom. Under that, we have our micro USB charging port and headphone jack. The power button is on the right side. And on the left, you will find the volume rocker. There is a removable back cover with the battery and SIM card slot. On the back of the iPhone is an 8 megapixel sensor with 1080p video capture. So as for the design round, I'm definitely going to give this to the iPhone 5. It looks like a better phone, it feels like a better phone, and it's made with better materials. So Apple definitely knows how to make a good looking phone. It's not to say that the Galaxy Nexus is a bad looking phone, but as for the build quality, the iPhone 5 does win. Now let's talk about software. The iPhone is running iOS 6.0. The Galaxy Nexus is running Google's latest 4.1 Jelly Bean operating system. So first, let's talk about the iPhone's operating system. If you used iOS before, really nothing has changed. It's still very similar since the day it first came out. You have your grid of icons with each app update from iOS 4 to iOS 5 to now iOS 6. Apple adds a few new things. We saw them add folders finally. We have the notification center, which is similar to Android, with some weather widgets and the new share icon that's built in. And of course, our multitasking. We can see any of the previously opened apps. If we want to close them, go ahead and go into the X and clear them out like that. It's not as refined as Google's way of multitasking, but it does work pretty well. It's very easy to use. You can change your wallpaper, move your apps around, but that's about it for customization. iOS 6 also features Apple's new in-house maps. which has seen a lot of criticism. There are misplaced labels, misplaced pins. It's not as bad in my area as some other places, but it works very well. The vector-based maps loads up very fast, and you also have really cool 3D animation. So if I go into the city of San Francisco, so here we have the city. If I change the angle of it, you can see the full 3D mapping. Easily change it up. So it's a very beautiful mapping system, but it does need some work as far as being very accurate. Now let's take a look at the Galaxy Nexus. So here we have Android Jelly Bean. Something they introduced is Project Butter. What it is basically what it sounds like. It's butter. It makes the operating system buttery smooth. Everything from navigating your pages to opening applications. It's very smooth. It's a huge improvement. I think Jelly Bean makes Android just as smooth, if not smoother, than the iPhone. With all the advantages of Android, you can customize it. You can see I have my widget here. With Jelly Bean 2 is I can move my apps from my widgets around my homepage, and it'll automatically realign. So you can see that when I move my widget up, the other widget realigns. So that's an amazing thing that you can do on Android. The same with applications. I can move them around to the top. If I want to move my widget, everything realigns for me perfectly. So that's really cool to see on Android. On the bottom, you have on-screen navigation buttons for back, your home button, as well as multitasking. And here's multitasking on Android. Let me open a few more apps just so you can see how they look. So you can see all the recent apps I just opened. If I want to go back, go ahead and hit on messages and it opens nicely. I switch back to gallery. Everything switches over, very cool. And if let's say I don't want it, I can easily swipe it off my home screen. If I pull down my notification tray, you can see something called, which is Google Now. It shows me traffic to get to work. So because I usually go to work around noon on these days, it gives me a notification of how long it will take. So it says 9 minutes based on traffic. If there's a delay, it will let me know. And also, if I don't want to see this notification for my updates, I can easily swipe it off. And also with Google Now, if I press and hold the home button, I can easily go up to Google Now, and I can say, Google, what's the score of the San Francisco Giants game?
The Giants lost to the Reds 9-0.
So other than the bad news about the sports score, you can ask Google Now a lot of things. Who is the president of Germany?
The president of Germany is Joachim Gauck.
How large is China?
China has an area of 3,705,842 square miles.
So Google Now is very fast, as you can see. It doesn't do as much as Siri, but as for the speed and the accuracy, it's very, very nice. And let me demonstrate Siri for you guys as well. What's the weather in New York City?
Here's the forecast for New York through Sunday.
And right now it's on Siri Australia. I'm going to change it back to the US real quick just so it's correct. Now I'm going to do this Siri test between Siri on the iPhone 5 and Google Now. What's the weather in London?
Here's the weather for London, England through Sunday.
So you can see Google Now actually did pull up the information much faster. Who is the Vice President of the United States?
Joe Biden is the Vice President of the United States of America.
So Google Now pulled it up. Siri is loading. Still loading.
on that. Here's what I found.
So she did find it. It did take her a little bit longer. But overall, they find the answers pretty quickly. What is the tallest building in the world?
Let me check on that.
So Google now pulled up the correct.
Here's what I found.
I don't know how to say it, but it's the Burj Khalifa, and that's in Dubai. And then again, Apple has pulled it up. Where is Berlin? Again, Google now did pull it up, and Siri is still finding Berlin. So you kind of get the idea. Voice assistant apps. One thing you can do with Siri is movie tickets as well as reservations, which is you cannot do on Google now. So that is basically the general idea of both operating system. With Android, you can customize a lot, add widgets. There's really cool things you can do like Google Now. With iPhone, you have the great App Store, Siri, Passbook is inside as well as iCloud. So very different operating systems that offer a lot of features. Right now I'm going to do a browser comparison between the iPhone and the Galaxy Nexus. So I'm going to open Chrome as well as Safari. And we're going to go to phonearena.com. And we're going to go to phonearena.com. Alright, so we have them both queued up. And we're going to press go at the same time. And they're off. So the Galaxy Nexus is done. And the iPhone is still going. And now it's done. So you can see that the Galaxy Nexus was extremely fast. The browser in Jelly Bean is fast as hell. So let's go on the page and compare the speed. So here we have the iPhone. Pinch to zoom, of course, works very well on iOS. Nice and easy. Transition effects is fast. And again, just overall the UI is very clean. Your share menu is very nice to look at. As well as creating new pages is very simple as well. Let's say I go into an article. One of my favorite things about the iOS browser that I love is the reader option. So once it fully loads the page, let's say I want to read it, you can do this way, which makes it hard because the text is not as big. But I can tap onto reader, and then that will remove any of the pictures, the ads that we don't care about, and focuses on the main text and images. And then let's say if I want to increase the text, I can do so and read the article very easily. Now let's go on to the same article on the Galaxy Nexus. Again, first pinch to zoom. It's not as smooth as the iPhone browser, but it's still very usable. It just takes a little bit more time to render, but everything loads up extremely fast. If I tap on the article, it's gonna load it up. Again, there is no Flash content on Android anymore since the Jelly Bean update. So just like iOS, it's going to be using HTML5. If I want to read this, I can double tap to go into the article. If I hit on my menu, you can do new tab, incognito tab. You can use other devices. So if you have Chrome on your desktop, you can pull up any recent pages you had on your desktop browser. But there really isn't anything like Reader on the iPhone with Chrome. Yeah, we're going to do another speed battle. So we're going to go to Let's go to the Verge. And then that's going to load up the mobile web. But I'm going to go to the desktop right after that. So the Verge on both. And we're going to press go. And the Galaxy Nexus is done again. So that was very fast on. So we're going to scroll to the bottom. And to the bottom here. And both are on the same Wi-Fi, so there is no one phone on LTE that the other one is. The network speed is the same. I'm going to tap on full site. And they're off. iPhone's pulling up the content, and the Galaxy Nexus as well. You can see the blue bars on each phone. And the Galaxy Nexus is finished. And now it's finished. iPhone's still pulling up the content. And now the iPhone is finished. So you can see again the Galaxy Nexus trumped the iPhone as far as the speeds of the browser. And again, pinch to zoom works well. If it's the second or two that counts, then obviously go with the Nexus. But really, both browsers are amazing, and you won't be disappointed with either. And I'm gonna go to YouTube. And YouTube. So very similar. I think those were about the same. And I'm going to choose the first video. And press done. And we're going to press play at the same time to see which video plays first.
Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here. Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here.
And let me do a video by video comparison just to show you guys how it looks in the widescreen mode. So here we have the videos playing up. One thing I don't like about the Amoled displays is it's super saturated. The colors become unnatural compared to the iPhone. With the iPhone, the colors are more true. His face looks yellow compared to the actual skin tone. But again, you do get a bigger screen with the Galaxy Nexus. I do have issues with the navigation bar. Sometimes they don't go away. With the iPhone, they take the full screen advantage. So now we're going to compare the keyboard. This is the iOS keyboard, and the Nexus is running the Jelly Bean keyboard. First, we're going to type on the iPhone keyboard. So here we have. Not much has changed. It's the same width as far as the screen. So it's not wider than the 4S. It's just longer. So the quick brown box. So very simple. The iOS keyboard has excellent predictions. The more you use it, the more it's going to learn by your typing skills. And now we're going to go to the Nexus. So again, very accurate. I actually prefer the Galaxy Nexus's keyboard over the iPhone just because it's a lot wider. And I'm actually having some issues with the iPhone 5's keyboard. I don't know if it's just because the phone is new and it's a little bit glitchy at the moment. But the Galaxy Nexus keyboard feels more responsive and it's actually capturing every single letter I enter. I feel like the iPhone 5 actually skips out on some of the letters I'm typing out. Now let's talk about the cameras. The Galaxy Nexus has a 5 megapixel and the iPhone 5 has the 8 megapixel. So we're going to take a picture of an apple. So we'll start with the iPhone's camera. Really, they've added panorama mode with the iPhone's camera. If you go to options, you can see your grid, if you want to turn that on, or HDR, flash, and your front-facing camera. You can see your mode for shooting video. The camera works very well. It's a nice, clean interface, and the pictures come out really nice. But there's really not a lot of features as far as changing manual settings. So the Nexus does give you a little bit more. I can tap to zoom in. The quality isn't as good. It's a 5 megapixel camera. But you can go ahead and change some of the white balance. You can the exposures. You can change the scene to whatever scene you like, as well as change the storage location. So things like that. But overall, the picture is nice. It takes very rapid photos. And at the bottom right, you can see your mode for panorama, if you like, or video recording. But the camera, I'm definitely going to give it to the iPhone 5. The sensor is far superior, and just the end result is nicer. Alright, now I want to talk about battery life. So the battery life on my HSPA Plus Galaxy Nexus is good. It does get me through a full day with light to moderate use. But the battery life is a lot better on the iPhone 5, especially because it's LTE. I can get through a full day pretty easily if I'm using it at the same time with my Nexus. The iPhone does have higher battery percentage. As for quality, the iPhone 5 does win in that. The earpiece is a lot clearer. It's picking up more signal, and actually Wi-Fi performance is much better. I can pull up Wi-Fi farther, and the speed is much better as well. Speaker, the same thing. The iPhone is much clearer. Performance on both phones, they're very fast. The Nexus, I'm actually very surprised that the browser is a lot faster than the iPhone 5. That we can probably thank Jelly Bean for that. Alright guys, this has been my review of the iPhone 5 compared to the Galaxy Nexus. In the end, which phone should you choose? The only reason why I'm giving this battle to the iPhone 5 is because it features everything that is standard, like a high resolution camera, 4G LTE, long-lasting battery life. Performance is much faster on the Galaxy Nexus, and I do think Jelly Bean is far superior to iOS 6. I completely love Jelly Bean. It's fast, it's smooth, it gives you every feature you would want. iOS 6 is very boring compared to Jelly Bean, but because of the 5 megapixel sensor, the speaker volume is not good, as well as no LTE support on the GSM side, and battery life, like I said, needs some work. The iPhone 5 is a much better phone in the long run. If you want to get a Nexus, I would highly suggest waiting for the next iteration, which will probably beat out the iPhone 5. Thank you for watching this video. If you thought it was helpful, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and let me know what phone you prefer in the comments below. Feel free to follow us on our Twitter page at T3ch Boys, and like always, we'll see you in the next video.